It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
All right. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. J.C. Sherbert, Phil Mullinax here. On Halloween, we've got our costumes on. We're in mourning a little bit.
We're in mourning.
So just wanted to welcome you guys in. I hope you have a safe and happy Halloween. If you celebrated this weekend, hope you were safe and happy and all that good stuff. But we got a lot of football to talk about today. Gamecocks go down to the Missouri Tigers 23-10. Ugly game. Since it's Halloween, we talk about fear, and worst fears came true. Those of you last week that were worried about the game and didn't have a lot of faith in the offensive coordinator or the game plan and were worried about Missouri on D, you were spot on. Congratulations for doing that. That's a good thing there. I put some game thoughts up on thebigspur.com, Phil, and here's the thing. It remains to be the case that this offense cannot win football games or even be competent when South Carolina's not lining up, running all over everybody. Now, the Marshawn Lloyd injury was significant because it limited him. He only had 7 carries in the football game. I don't know that we ever got a clear indication from Shane Beamer or anybody else. Like could he just not go the second half? What was the deal? Maybe a thigh bruise happened. I don't know. But it seemed early on when he was getting carries, he was just, he's going to kind of do it himself. There were people that had him almost dead to water. He was juking them and getting by them. So, we had a little hot take on the board last week that maybe he wasn't even the best back on the team. I think that's been proven that he is, and he's a super duper talent, but you have other talented players. And, hey, sometimes running backs get dinged up and they can't go. That's a fact of life in football. And you have backups. They didn't get anything going. Obviously, for the second straight year, Missouri had Carolina sort of figured out on both sides. The defense got caught with their pants down first quarter. I thought they did a decent job adjusting and keeping them out of the end zone. They didn't do a good job of getting off the field on third down. Missouri has a 13-minute advantage. Only a handful of drives even went more than 5 yards for the Gamecocks. What you have to do in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion, is you're going to have games like what happened against Missouri. It's going to happen in the first quarter. It's tough to get college kids up and sky high and ready to play each and every week. Okay. That happens to all teams. There are going to be games when the opponent comes in ready to play with a good plan, and they're going to jump on top of you. Or you go out there and they're going to jump on you. And your defense is going to kind of be exposed. Eli Drinkwitz put on a play. You want to see good play calling? Look at Missouri the first quarter. See how they kept everybody off balance. They got the ball in the hands. Dominic Lovett's one of their best playmakers, okay? He's like Carolina's Juice Wells. He caught 10 passes. They found all kinds of ways to scheme him up and get him open, right? Okay.
I didn't see him leave the field too much either.
No, he was on the field, right? They didn't sub
only
for
when
him.
He was getting a little dinged up, he'd take a play off, and then he'd be right back out there.
And Carolina stayed off balance. Okay, so the defense adjusts as Clayton White's group normally does. They go in halftime and they adjusted. And look, they were at fault too in the second half, not getting off the field, but. After that barrage early, you hold them to 2 field goals the rest of the game. You have to be good enough on offense to get back in it.
Yeah.
And then Carolina almost, they get there with the one drive and then the field goal drive, have some momentum, and then it's just sputtering. Okay, so that's number one. We've seen now 21 games of it. Here's a stat for you. Will Muschamp was 13-8 through 21 games at Carolina. Shane Beamer is now 12-9. Not to compare the two, it was different situations, but I think this this team's got a lot of potential. Kind of like, and I think Muschamp's first 2 teams did about as good as they possibly could with the exception of that home loss against Kentucky in 2017, which is awfully similar to Saturday's game. I mentioned Missouri cannot get caught. I mean, you can't get caught in their spider web like Kentucky does, except there was no big start and lost momentum for the Gamecocks. There was just no momentum the entire game.
Oh.
Flat, awful, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, this offense isn't working, right? Spencer Rattler looks like an NFL, like I said last week, an NFL rookie out there. It's not all on him. He made some beautiful throws, beautiful plays, didn't have time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it's all on him. I think that if there's a way, if you could change quarterbacks, and I see some Nana Sports chat box folks are talking about it, and I almost talked about this last week, is it with the way Missouri has been susceptible to running quarterbacks this year, could we see Doty in the game just because of his wheels? I don't know that would have been a terrible idea.
There was one point in the game, I'm like, why don't we put DeCarry and Joyner back there and let him catch a few snaps?
Yeah.
See what he can do with the ball.
You couldn't have done any worse. Okay.
Nope.
And so, there's that. But, and if somebody else on the roster can run this complicated offense better, then get them out there. I mean, look, this is not the South Carolina Spencer Rattlers. It's the South Carolina Gamecocks. I would have a hard time believing that. I would have a hard time believing that that's the answer. But if you're Shane Beamer and Marcus Satterfield, you got to find out. If you're Shane Beamer and you're going to not make a change, which, look, guys, I know everybody was hoping they'd get up Sunday morning and Satterfield's been relieved of his duties and they turn it over to somebody else and everybody can breathe a sigh of fresh air and be like, away we go. There's two schools of thought on that, and Beamer isn't wrong. In fact, most coaches would probably not make a change midseason, and turn play calling duties over to someone else. But it's a judgment call, right? And people are going to continue to be frustrated, with the lack of good offensive showings. And this offense not only being, not good and getting dominated by Missouri, but also, being a hindrance to the rest of the team. Everyone last week that said you can't count on special teams plays and turnovers every week is absolutely right. You can't.
Yep. Nope.
And that's nothing against the special teams or defense. It's just the ball doesn't bounce your way sometimes. They had a turnover and another BS call. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if somebody's like griped to the SEC office over and over about South Carolina's defensive backs being a little grabby. But boy, the last 2 weeks they've been calling it awfully tight. There was no way on earth that was a penalty. That was offensive pass interference, if anything.
Yeah, there was one guy grabby, and it was the receiver, not the
offensive
DB.
guy. It was crystal clear. I don't know how that's not my favorite referee, by the way. The head ref, he's just he doesn't work out all the time like the other ones, He's not over there pumping irons. He looks weird. Yeah. So, and he's always making bad calls against the game. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm not going to blame the refs for that abysmal showing. I mean, you had 186 yards of offense before the last play of the game. Juice Wells, 7 catches, sure, but why do they continue when you have a team that crowds the line of scrimmage? Why do you continue to pass it to him behind the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, why's he got to break 3 tackles before he even gets 2 yards down the field?
I mean, we saw against Arkansas, he clearly can be a downfield threat, and then they throw him that little pass toward the sidelines all the time. Super conservative, by the way. Although that's a longer pass, that is a conservative pass. And he's good at that. But where is he? Like on a slant or people talk about slants and crossing patterns and stuff like that, that are quick developing. I mean, like the crossing pattern they ran against Kentucky, that took a long time, right? That probably wasn't going to cut it against these guys. But the whole offense is slow developing. The personnel usage is maddening. And let me just break this down for you folks. South Carolina has a blessing, not a hinder, a blessing on their roster with versatile personnel. Okay, let me give you a little example here. You could take Jaheim Bell, and we'll get to that in a second, Austin Stogner, Juice Wells, and take your pick out of Van Brooks, Xavier, whoever, and run 4 wide and a running back. And then you can get in the I formation the next play. You can run a spread with those 4 spread wide and run, then you can get in the I formation the next play and not have to substitute and not allow the defense to substitute.
Yeah, with tempo, right.
With tempo.
You can keep them off base.
You're blessed with that type of versatility, And we don't see Bell hardly at all. He gets no targets. His family's going crazy, rightfully so, on social media. Look, this team is not loaded with playmakers. Beamer's right in that they have a lot of good ones, but they're not loaded with playmakers. You have one guy that can kind of be a game changer, that's on the bench, and you're struggling like that on offense. That's unacceptable. I don't want to hear about the personnel packages. Because here we get back to this with Jaheim. It was stated, and I've said this for a long time, that he is not a tight end. Okay? As Marcus Satterfield said, he is not a tight end. So Stogner and Atkins is blocking well. Well, who cares? Your backup running backs did nothing. Poor Juju McDowell, early on, he gets thrown in there and just run him up the middle into the teeth of that defense. You're not an offense that spreads it. You refuse to use the whole field. Yeah. Refuse. To spread it wide, make the defense defend the whole field. That's another way you take advantage of a team that likes to crowd the line of scrimmage and beat you up over. You spread it out big time. Yeah. Oh, you make them defend the whole field. Juju goes up the middle. He's not doing anything. Christian Bill Smith didn't do anything. So, okay, it's so easy to just toss Jaheim the ball or run it to Jaheim instead of worrying about passing. Well, good. Well, why didn't you do it? Yeah. I talked to someone that coaches offense at the college level that keeps up with the Gamecocks. He said, well, I don't know. He said, I'd probably have more than 200 yards, definitely, and I would have given it to Lloyd and Bell 20, 15 times a game. Yeah. All right, so that guy knows what he's talking about. So there's no excuse for not, in a situation like that, when you're not just bad but horrible, you're worse than you've been, to use a guy that's been a proven playmaker. Yeah. I don't understand why they don't use Juice more down the field.
Your offense is only better than Vanderbilt, right? Yeah, now. Period.
No doubt, and probably getting worse.
Yeah, and it's not getting any better. No.
When you're in a game like that, you fall behind 17-0 on your home field. You need to have the offense to be able to get back in it, and they got to 10, and then sputter. The play calling is abysmal. There's no place to set up other plays, it seems. There's no, I'm sure it does happen, but it's just like a collection of plays. So what do you do? If I'm Marcus Satterfield, I'm going to tell you this. The last time he had a good offense, statistically at least, because Temple was kind of a defensive-minded team, and, they were okay, right? They actually, I think they beat Notre Dame while he was there too. So it's not like Temple was a black hole like this has been. I'm going back and dusting things off from my Tennessee Chattanooga days, which was in 2010, which was the last time he had an explosive good offense on the college level. I've mentioned Clemson's offense several times. Clemson rolled that puppy in 2011, and it's still the same. They just run it slower and all that. But they get the ball to their playmakers. I'm not saying that Satterfield needs to install a whole new playbook this off week, because that's not going to happen. That's vet. You want to confuse everybody even more. But I'm, and look, they have trimmed down some of the plays. It's not the number of plays. It's how you're teaching it. It's the fact that their plays are 8 to 10 words long. That slows you down. That when you're processing something mentally in the heat of a game, what's easier to process, in your opinion, Phil? Would it be like a color or a shape or a two-word play call, or something that's 8 words long?
Yeah, I think there was a point in the third quarter, JC, where I'm just sitting there watching the TV. It's a third down. Spencer's over there looking at the sidelines, and he just looks like he has absolutely zero clue about what's coming into him, about what they're supposed to do. He's got this look on his face like deer in the headlights. Yeah. It's unacceptable.
And look, this is a college football program, not an NFL training facility. I said that during the last staff, when the defense, with how many NFL players on it, was just giving up points in droves. They're confused. Lane Kiffin's clipboard play at Ole Miss, Muschamp's last game, where Lane just threw it in the air because it was a touchdown, that was communication and confusion in the secondary. That wasn't because the players aren't good. And look, you can talk execution all you want, but if the guys just aren't getting it, here game, what was it, game 8? Yeah. And look, the shame of it is that there's probably the biggest problem I have is just when it looks like they can turn the corner, right? Just when they have a good half of Kentucky, or they get 2 touchdown drives when they need it against Texas A&M. Just when you think, well, things are getting better. At least there's something to build on here. It's a disaster, and the players that make the plays aren't in the game. And it's just a very weird, limiting type of offense. Okay, and let's look around the league. Like who else is struggling on offense? All right, raise your hand if you saw Tennessee boat race Kentucky with the number 102nd ranked defense in the country, holding them to 6 points and shutting them out after the first quarter. Okay, so that shows you what good offense can do. It inspires your whole team. I think, quite frankly, Kentucky's offense is easy to stop. Well, what's Kentucky's offense? Well, Mark Stoops had the brilliant idea, as good of a coach as he is, that he's going to get rid of Eddie Gran, who runs a proven college offense with the Wildcat and the spread and all that good stuff, and he's going to go NFL, right? So he hires Liam Cohen, and they got a little better because they had Levis and Wan'Dale Robinson. Well, this year, they still have Levis. They brought in another NFL dude who's actually from the 49ers and has experience, but that style of offense goes nowhere. Who else is struggling? Texas A&M. Jimbo's never coached in the pros, but that's kind of that system, and South Carolina's struggling. Okay. Who's not struggling on offense? Well, Tennessee's not. What's that? That's a college offense. Simple. Ole Miss is not struggling on offense, right? Arkansas, when they have KJ Jefferson at least, are not struggling on offense. Let's go around here. Let's go down to Auburn. It's like watching paint dry right now. Boise State. Everybody thought they were a spread team. They're not. They've always been kind of that I formation, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying South Carolina's not necessarily an I formation team. They just go very methodically. It's conceptually ridiculous in terms of the difficulty to go do it. And I don't see where, even if they get it down because of the play calling, even if the players knew it like the back of their hand, Phil, I don't see what the play calling, whether it makes a difference or not, whether this gives you a strategic advantage. And if you're in South Carolina and in this league against the schedule you play, you better have an offense that gives you an advantage, not that restricts you and smothers you and tears you down.
Yeah.
I
know Brad Crawford said there wasn't a predictability, as much as we thought it was, but it just seems like there is because it's so limited in scope.
Well, after Lloyd went out, that was like game plan out the door. Yeah. And quite frankly, before he went out, he was doing a lot of stuff just by himself.
It was. Which
is impressive, but hey, he only got 7 carries.
Yeah, 7 carries. I'm sitting here looking at the drive summaries now. It's like every time he touched the ball, you get positive yardage every time.
Yeah, and he didn't. So I guess he was not healthy enough to go in the second half, and that did make a difference, man. But it was Missouri.
Yeah,
this wasn't Alabama or Georgia.
No, and you're putting CBS in there, and you're going to run Juju, and you're still running up the middle. Run up the middle. That we've seen this even this year. That's not where Juju, at least, is not effective, period. And then I think once you get Christian Beal-Smith in there, I don't think you give him enough touches to really start to get a feel for the flow of the game. So he's not going to get lathered up, because you keep putting, Juju back in there. Great player, but,
perimeter
misused.
Perimeter guy. The bowl game with Juju McDowell that's how you use him. That's how you use him. Yeah. He's a complimentary guy. Today's poll question is, does Marcus Satterfield maximize the playmakers he has on offense? That should be a pretty obvious poll question today.
Hell, the better question would be, does he remember who the hell the playmakers are?
I have no idea. It's almost like scheme over everything, and the scheme is bad. And when that happens, you're not going to win football games ever.
No.
I saw that watching the Chicago Bears for a couple of years under Matt Nagy. Yep. Cocky Gaming in the Nana Sports chat box. By the way, I do have some good news for you. About Nana Sports. I'm reading this off my phone, by the way. Nana Sports got made Charlotte's best of food trucks. One of the best food trucks in the Metroplex of Charlotte. They've got voted bronze, third. So hit up Nana's Porch, man. It's not just a food truck. They can cater, and it's not just in Charlotte. You can go anywhere else in South Carolina you want to. And he will take care of you for that. But it's not Nana's Porch Shop. I wanted to mention that. Sorry I had to grab my phone. I probably should have typed it out on the screen, but that's just me. And, it's a tough day today. Cocky Gaming says Cocktober got derailed right before November. Time to regroup and headed to no loss November. Going to be tough. And I'm going to say this, that you don't fix this offense, Vanderbilt's going to be a battle. Florida's going to beat you down in the swamp. Tennessee will be one of the most embarrassing home losses in the history of the program. And you won't cross the 50 at Death Valley.
Nope.
That's the bottom line. And hopefully at 6-6, they can sneak into the Las Vegas Bowl. That would make me somewhat of a consolation prize that would make me happy, but probably looking at Birmingham. Again.
How fun.
In year 2. With a lot of pretty good players. Craig says should be a doozy today. Had a great time with my son. 2 long back-to-back drives drained the stadium. I know. Yeah. And when a team's got the ball like that, number one, defense has to get off the field. But number 2, your offense has to go score, right? Go score. Beamer said it. He was talking about when his dad used to play Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech. You have to go score. Will Muschamp said that after losing to Georgia Southern when he was at Florida. The way you beat a team like that is you score. You score. It's the same concept of how do you play Tennessee on offense. Now, after Saturday, I'm not sure how you play Tennessee on offense. That's becoming a big mystery to me.
Yeah,
but, that's
maybe somebody will have an answer this week because see how Georgia plays it.
Craig says 7 offensive drives and 5 plays or less. Doty can't be worse. So maybe he can run it better, at least for a series or 2. I may have stuck him in. I mean, you run the risk of losing Rattler at that point. I don't think anybody's going to do any better. Just because the minute a player gets out there, kind of like Jason Brown last year, he was out there just playing, and they gave him a spark, and then the very next week he's confused.
Yep.
Right, and that's the problem. There's no building one week to another, and that was a problem, quite frankly, last year when you talk to people around the program. Every week was just like a pull all this out and stick all this in. And I don't really see any masterful game planning. I don't see Carolina attacking the opposing team's weakness.
No.
Like they did, like Missouri did.
And you're still running the same plays that have had minimal, if any, success this year. Like the quick outs to Amari and Brown. How many yards have we gained on that play? What, all total 20?
Very little.
For how many times we've done it, it's ridiculous.
And Beamer said after the game they weren't screens, and he looked a little upset about this. He's like, they're not screens, they're kind of RPO-ish plays. Okay, well, look, man, I'm all for Spencer Rattler running some RPO action, but why is it behind the line of scrimmage? I mean, obviously you're throwing it over there. There's 3 people standing around the ball. What do you expect Amari and Brown to do?
Yeah.
And if you do run some of those screens like at Kentucky, look, that they sprung Juice Wells because Dylan Wanham was down the field. What are the chances that anybody on the offensive line is going to consistently do that? You got Spencer Rattler and a lot of these guys, throw it down the field. Throw it where there's, I mean, if they're sending that many guys and they're crashing in there like that, chances are there's probably something open, don't you think? Well, I mean, they don't play 15 guys on defense.
Yeah, I mean, if the called run is another inside zone, then we got to throw it this time because you know what? They stack in the box.
Gaming goes, I'm not advocating for Doty. Maybe he is a spark, maybe not. What I do want some kind of resemblance of continuity in the offense. Build off plays, get the ball to your playmakers. That's not happening. And look, I'm not even talking about results here, folks. If Missouri had just beat them, and they tried, just one of those games, plan was good, that's fine. Like, when Mike Bobo was here, he called a lot of crap for play calling. And because they'd have some games where they didn't go very far, right? Mike Bobo had like one receiver and one tight end. And, some games his play calling kept the Gamecocks in it, kept them in the game. Because he could scheme guys open and knew how to get the ball to what little he had.
Yep.
So that's it there. Adam says, why does Ben Portnoy like antagonizing our fan base so much? Very unprofessional. I haven't noticed that, Adam. Give us an example. I haven't noticed it.
It was because he didn't vote us for the AP
top
top
25.
25. And then after we lost, he posted the Kermit picture sipping tea. You know, like I was
I'm not
right
a fan
and you
of
were
that.
wrong. Yeah, I don't like that.
Well,
either.
and the reason and not to come down on Ben or anything, but he did give a stated reason that said he had some other teams he wanted to reward. But that's the whole problem with the AP poll.
Yeah.
I mean, is you got that's obviously playing favorites, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. I'm not going to come down on him, right now. We got bigger fish to fry today.
That's right. More problems.
happy. It sucks to be a Gamecock. Go Gamecocks and beat Vandy. Cocky Gaming says, did y'all see the Fire Satterfield website? Yeah, not really a fan of having websites like that.
Yeah, that's not
it
just breeds negativity. I mean, we all know what needs to be done.
Rick and Daddy O both had full day hangovers on Sunday. I didn't have that bad of a hangover yesterday. I don't know why. Clint says, JC, why would we wait until the end of the season to part ways with Set? Zero upside to doing that. More losses of missing of bowls. The downside. Why can't Beamer see that? Because I don't know, Clint, that anybody else could step in and do it. I mean, the thing's so damn complicated right now. I mean, you run the risk of someone that's probably a good play caller coming out there and just not knowing and confusing the situation even more. And that's not my opinion, because if it were me, I'd hand – like Freddie Kitchens has taken over play calling twice at the NFL level with limited results, but good results. He got the Giants a little better, got the Browns a lot better. I'm begging him. There's some talk he may not want to step in and call plays, and that's fine. But I'm begging him. Look, you've done this before. You're pretty good offensive mind. At least it will make sense, based on your track record. So I don't, that would have been me. So I'm not saying that I agree with, hold and serve here. But I'll say this: Shane is not unusual as far as head coaches go by letting it play out, because there's a downside to that as well, that it gets worse. How could it get worse? I have no idea, but it could get worse. I mean, I got that. Saunders says he's got a lunch meeting today. Won't get to experience the Allsup meltdown live. Can't wait to hear Keith's game on the game. Backwood says, let Shane Beamer take control of the offense. Shane's never called plays, man.
Yeah, now that may not work as well as you think it would.
It's probably not it. Keith may need a defibrillator, Krager says. Tim says, my worst fear is Shane keeps Satterfield after the season. There's really no reason to do that, if things continue. Because what you're going to get in a situation, if things continue, let's say they even get to 7-5 and pull an upset down the stretch. I mean, you really have to examine the games you won and see the points you left on the field, and just the general overall approach. It's never been a good idea to run a pro style offense at South Carolina, and it's never. And that word pro style is a loaded term too. Because you could go get another offensive coordinator that's a quote unquote pro style guy, and they definitely would not be able to hire Todd Monken, but I'm saying Todd Monken's got a pro style offense there he runs, but he runs it for college, and he's masterful, and he's an outstanding play caller. I mean, you watch Georgia, man, some of their formations and the stuff they do similar to South Carolina. They have similar strengths, relatively. They got more talent, obviously, but they know how to use their backs. They know how to use their tight ends, and they know how to dial it up. They keep the other team completely off balance the whole game. Lady Bree says, I'm on the D. Nothing to say about the offense. I tagged y'all on Twitter. Maybe I'll go see if our offensive line wasn't as bad as portrayed. I'm not blaming this on the offensive line. You have to know that they're going to bring the house and all that. I agree. The defense got out coached first quarter, but you have to, in this league, that's going to happen. And I'm not absolving them for blame. They could have done a lot better. They came out flat, but guess what? Held them to 2 field goals the second half. Should have gotten off the field. No question about it.
Yep.
Clint says Drinkwitz called a nice game offensively. It looked pretty simple to me. That's the key. Drinkwitz put on a clinic as to how you call plays at the college level. He kept the Gamecocks off balance.
Yeah. And shout out to Clint. I actually met Clint this weekend, JC. Yeah.
Nice.
Here in town. Yeah, it was good. Good to see you, Clint.
8JM2 says our scheme is not good, but we have more problems than SAT. Like what? I mean, what? That being said, Missouri's probably just a better program than we are. So we're going to get on this? Just a better program.
Man, really? I don't think come on.
I think right now they've won 4 in a row. You know, it's hard to argue, but look, there's team, program, job. Okay. Job is what's the long-term potential of this job? Program is where are we at as a program? How are we recruiting? Is there progress being made towards the future? That kind of thing. It has to do with wins and losses. And if you lose to a certain team over time, then your program can be at the level that one is, just like with Kentucky. But, you know, I don't think there's a coach in the country that would say, I'd rather have the Missouri job than the South Carolina job.
Right. Yeah.
You know, unless it's expectations, you know. That may be a little bit deal. Tristan says, are y'all dressed as Sat? Nah, I think it's Grim Reaper.
Yes, more of a Reaper look.
You know, JC, do you think Beamer's letting personal feelings get in the way of seeing the truth? Rattler's comments basically called out the complexity of what Satterfield's trying to do. No, I think Beamer's trying to I don't think see, and I've seen a lot of fans do this, and it's unfortunate. They just attack Shane personally. I saw somebody say on the message board today, well, he got there because of his name, or, oh, he had no experience, or, oh, he's just his groomsman or whatever. That's all a pile of crap, okay? That's grasping at straws. It's obvious what's going on. The scheme sucks. The idea sucks. The play calling sucks. It all sucks. It sucked for 21 games.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people, you want to, you know, some of the folks out there that like to, you know, watch film and analyze it and break down plays and stuff. That's all well and good. But, you know, sometimes the answer is obvious. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to sit there and go off on the players for missing assignments or doing what, because you know why? It's the coach's job to teach them that. And for 21 games now, these guys don't know what to do. They do not know what to do. They're confused. Yeah. It's been obvious.
Yeah, Rattler's comments, I think, were the most damning coming out of it. And you just had to figure sooner or later he was going to use his mouth because that's what he does. But, I mean, I think he did it in a reasonably diplomatic way, if you will. But, you know, not a good look when your starting quarterback comes out and says, well, we really just didn't, you know, prepare well enough for the week. We were a little confused. I mean, I don't know. It's ridiculous. But here's the thing. It's not nobody's going to lose their job before December. Okay. So we need to accept it and hope like hell that we can continue to win a couple of games in the next 4 in spite of ourselves like we have.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to a break. Be back. More Nana Sports Chat Box. Got a lot in the mailbag. Keith's coming up. Keith probably won't be with us right at noon. Noon. Because he's got a doctor's appointment, but he will be in at some point to share his thoughts on the game. And we'll continue to give ours right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit tonypope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at @MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
What's up? This is Jaheim Bell with the Gamecocks, and you're now listening to Inside the Gamecocks Show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks with JC Sherbert and Phil Mullinax, brought to you in the first hour by Cindy Searfoss and Coldwell Banker Kane Realty here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call for all of your upstate residential real estate needs, 864-414-5271. And just a note on McKellar Enterprises and Meredith, of course, she is accepting her virtual lessons starting at the beginning of the year, not in November. And she is just now about to drop a promo code for free shipping on her merch on the website. Use the code McKellar for that free promotional shipping offer from Meredith.
Yeah, I got actually a text from Meredith. She's going to send me a hat.
I'm sitting here reading it.
She's going to send me a hat. So I think
nice.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. We'll have it on set here at Sherb Nation Studios. Lady says, Lady Bree, either you sit rat or you sit sat. It's both of them, but you can't change one. You can't not change one or the other. I look, if the answer is to play Luke Doty and that sparks the team and all that, great. I doubt it is, but great. I am fine with that. But that's somebody else's call. I think it would be unfortunate because, look, are you not evaluating your quarterback before he came in? Yeah. What was the big knock on Rattler last year at Oklahoma? Is that he doesn't really always make the right read in the defense and, blah, blah, blah. And, okay, well, why are you going to shove him into this offense? So like I said, he looks like a rookie in the NFL. Those guys get better when they adjust to the game mentally. You don't get that much bigger, stronger, faster once you go to the NFL. There's really not a lot of development other than the game slows down for you mentally. And that's exactly what he looks like. A rookie quarterback. You have moments of brilliance, followed by a lot of frustration. So whose big plan was it to take this approach with him coming into the season? I know what the narrative was. Oh, he needs to be in this type of offense. Yeah, but, there's a difference between, okay, here are some pro concepts we're going to throw in for you. We're going to work under center more. We're going to do this and that. Yeah, great, fine. But you don't just throw out a dang NFL playbook for a kid and do it, especially when you're like a guy that ultimately only spent one season in the NFL as a coach. Yeah. You're not Andy Reid. You're not. Yeah, right. Yeah. Believe me, Andy Reid would have simplified this bad boy a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
There'd be people. Maybe people with emojis on the side holding up poster board, I know they don't want to do that. I don't blame them because that's kind of goofy, but really, I mean, you've got a 7-word. I mean, anyway.
Yeah, but you're wearing a codex on your arm that, is like just looks like a freaking dissertation down there.
An iPad on there,
every time. I know, man. It's absolutely asinine why these plays are like that. But, hey, what do we,
Kreger on the defense makes a good point. Ends got sucked in and the quarterback's untouched around the edge. Yeah, they got him a couple times on that play. No way about it.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
No way around it. Daddy O says, I said it weeks ago. When your O-line struggles, you got to move your quarterback around, especially when your bell cow quarter running back's out. That's true. I don't know if I dismissed it or not. I just said that you probably, at the time, in those situations against A&M and Kentucky, they weren't getting a crazy amount of pressure. Against Missouri, you knew what they were going to do going in. We all sat here and said it all week. They're going to come after you. They attack you. Beamer said it. Everybody said it.
Yep.
So,
and I saw one designed rollout.
One design rollouts. Jeff Fowler says, good morning, gents. Well, I think we learned one thing. Eli Drinkwitz owns South Carolina. I hate it. Go Cox and Semper Fi. What do we say to that?
That's right. Thank you for your service, Jeff Fowler. Yeah, and you're right. And I can't stand it. It wouldn't hurt me quite so bad if it were another coach, but God, that damn Drinkwitz.
Drinkwitz, man. Yeah, that's bizarre. It's bizarre. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Dre says, good morning, guys. Happy to be able to catch the show live finally. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Dre, appreciate it. J-Rock says, Satterfield, I wish we could get Jaheim Bell 1,000 touches, then proceeds to get 0. Was on the field 9 times. That's inexcusable in a game like that, man, because you have to have the awareness that you're struggling. Like, this is not working, whatever you're doing. And so that's one thing I admired about a lot of coaches is that have been here, including Spurrier, but I don't even think it's fair to compare this to what Spurrier did. There have been other coaches here that are like, all right, this isn't working. We have to try something. So let's put somebody in. Let's try a little wrinkle. Let's see if another player maybe has it today. You're absolutely right. It's just sad.
And here's the worst thing. It was like the past 2 games he's played, he's had 13 snaps. And after making that big comment in the damn press conference, Satterfield comes out and gives him 4 less. 4 less and 0 touches.
Hey, Cavalier says that style of offense does not cater to Rattler's athleticism. He's very limited. And I also believe he doesn't have the freedom to go make a play and run to get the first down. I still trust Beamer, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't. Look, this is very frustrating simply because, everybody sat here and watched, with the exception of 2 years under Muschamp, when he was there 5. And because I'm going to give Bobo the benefit of the doubt in 2020. I'm also going to say that, Brian McClendon, his first year, as up and down as it was sometimes, that at least was an offense you knew prior to the bowl that they would go score. When Jake Bentley was on and playing well, they could go score, and then they did things kind of like colleges do them. I think what happened to him was once you got down the road and people started to adjust, there was really nothing past the RPOs. But I thought, so twice in how many years? 6, since 24, has the offense not been good? People are sick of watching it. There are so many good offenses now, whereas the SEC used to be a kind of a defensive league. There are way, way more good offenses in this league than there used to be. And so you have to go score. Ray Tanner, I pointed this out too when Shane Beamer was announced. Ray said the name of the game's offense now, Beamer's background in offense, blah, 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 blah. And everybody's talking about Lincoln Riley and Joe Brady. And look, I'm not saying it doesn't look like them because it's not working. I'm saying it looks nothing like what they do or have done. Nothing. 3rd and 18 screen pass was a fireable offense. Absolutely.
Yep.
Another one. No. Queasy says no comments until Keith comes on. Clint says that this is a good point. The consecutive screen passes to Xavier Legette with tempo was nice. Then we slowed down again. That happens over and over. You go to something unless it's a basic run play. Something will start to work, and then they just go away from it. So, Cocky Gaming says, "Where are the slants? Period. Why do we throw the ball in 3rd and 3 with the receivers 1 yard past the line of scrimmage instead of 3? It makes no sense at all." Yep, that would be play calling.
Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah. Play calling design. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, 2 first downs in a row. And that one to XL, those passes to Leggett were kind of on the opposite end of the field where they looked like they could attack some. And that's it. 8JM2, Jaheim might just not be as good as we think he is. That's absolutely not true.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't know what planet you're on with that, honestly.
Okay, and AGM2.
I think that's another ridiculous.
What's the sample size this year? How do you make that determination? How have you seen enough of him to actually say he's not good?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. Let's run it between the tackles with a 185-pound running back. Jan says, this is a good point. You can't run an up-tempo offense where you're constantly switching out personnel packages and groups.
Nope.
And look, that was my point. If you wanted to run, Carolina is actually blessed with some versatile players. You could line up out there with, and that's what I thought was going to happen. You could line up out there, and Keith points this out a lot. You could go with Bell and Stogner and Wells and Van or somebody like that, right? Well, and you could spread it out and run or throw or whatever. Well, then you could go right back and go to the I formation if you wanted to. You just have Lloyd at running back, Bell's at fullback. Okay, well, then you could do something with a double tight end set with them on the line of scrimmage if you wanted to. I mean, there's all kinds of, and you could go really, really fast, because you don't have to sub. But when you're sitting there, I mean, and look, that was a problem at Kentucky, and then they got better in the second half. The first half, when you see it in person, and Jan was there, he knows, it is like watching, it's just a glacial pace. And you look at the other sideline, there's 2 defensive coaches in this league are too good. You're not fooling anybody. They're going, oh, these guys are in. They've done their homework, unlike maybe the offensive coach and at South Carolina, and said, okay, well, this is what they're going to do in this situation. And they don't always guess right. And sometimes Marshawn Lloyd will make a heroic individual play, and it works. But this isn't about working or not working. Some days you can get your butt kicked, and that's fine. It's just about like things that make no sense, in my opinion. Drinkwitz actually schemes his offense around their best players. That's true, Titan. And look at Dominic Lovett. He's their best receiver. He's one of the top receivers in the SEC statistically. 10 catches for however many yards. They got him the ball.
Yeah.
Mike Bobo got Shi Smith the ball a whole lot, miraculously, when he was here. Everybody in the country knew that Shi Smith was the only really receiver Carolina had, yet he still got how many? 46, 47 catches. Poor Juice Wells, he's got a lot of catches, but when you don't throw it down the field, you're limiting yourself.
Yeah, here's an interesting one. Love it. 10 for 148. Wells, 7 for 52.
Yeah.
52.
And before that it was 6 for 34, all behind the line of scrimmage. RB brings up a good point. Think about the second for the fact that Amarian Brown touched it more than Jaheim Bell, and that's no slight to Brown. And look, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I am. So last year, obviously there was a lot of talk about the offense internally and all this other stuff. And, the opinion was about Bell specifically is that, he's really what you call the F receiver in this offense. And if I'm not mistaken, that's Amarian Brown's position. It's kind of the slot yes, he's not a tight end, but he needs to be at that F spot. And we saw DeCarry Joyner play it some too Saturday. Think about the difference in the offense in the bowl game where that's where Bell lined up, that F receiver position, because Joyner, who was the starting F, had gone to quarterback, and then Brown came in and played it some. And think about how that thing hummed. Think about the big plays where he set the tone. 8JM2 with more nonsense here. Jaheim Bell has more than 50 yards in a game twice in his career. Vanderbilt and UNC, both pretty bad teams. I don't care about statistics.
Why worried about what happened?
He hasn't been played or used properly. When he has been, they've scored and he's made plays. What is so hard to learn about? Why are you looking at stats?
Yeah.
I mean, if he was out there and, dropping passes over and over and not getting the ball, I mean, come on, man, my God.
Yeah,
I mean,
the most effective play he was on Saturday was when he was in the backfield with Marshawn Lloyd on that, third and short, I think it was, or it might even been a fourth and short. And they ran the fullback dive with Lloyd because you have to account for Bell in the backfield. So
Yeah.
it was like, now we've got two big time playmakers in the backfield. You have to account for him, and Lloyd is, of course, able to pick up the first down.
Yeah,
That's the most effective play he had.
Decoy. Yeah, I mean, when you're struggling like that, I mean, and I can see another thing too, AJM, if they were going up and down the field. No, you don't need him. Fine.
Yeah.
Titan says Schrader was killing us in the run game. I told you guys, look out for Schrader. Couldn't stop him. AJM2 says, I'm adjusting my outlook. Shane has a rebuild on his hands. We were wrong about the talent level. That's not true either. More lies, dude. Look, I'm sorry your predictions were way over the top, and you weren't right about it. But, I mean, I get it. We all make bad predictions sometimes, but you're wrong about the talent level, period, straight up. You can ask multiple coaches if you don't believe me. I'm not saying they have Alabama or Georgia level talent. I'm saying to blame this on talent is lazy, wrong, ridiculous, and insulting to the good players on the team.
And you can't honestly make an argument that the team that we faced off against Saturday had more talent on the field. You just got out coached. You just got beat. You went out there flat and you got your ass handed to you. It doesn't, I mean, it's a rebuild, but it's not a drastic rebuild.
AGM2, right? It takes more than 1 or 2 seasons, even with the almighty portal. Again, it's not talent. They did a good job in the portal. We're talking about guys who are really good players not getting the ball, who actually have proven in games they are good players, and then they disappear. Yeah. So if you want to account for that's fine. I thought last year there were issues with the operational aspects of the offense, and I thought I was a little bit I was encouraged when they went to Jason Brown, because with the bad offensive line issues, he could run around, throw it down the field, make a play. So you have some passing game. Well, then Missouri happened and everybody's confused again. Well, then Auburn happened and you get back, and then the Clemson game happened, and they in that game they had no chance because they didn't have, Van had a hamstring, so it took away their number one receiving threat. They didn't know how to use Bell at the time. That was just a domination, and not that it wasn't disappointing that the defense gave up all those rushing yards against Clemson, but, they had no chance on offense. This year's a lot different, and again, I am not saying that South Carolina has, elite top third of the SEC talent. But look at the other teams that are winning that have competent offenses that aren't necessarily crazy talent-wise, I just think that's ridiculous. Jan says that neither of you pay your heating bill. Now, that was a Halloween thing. Lady Bree says, Spencer's an issue. Put Doty in. It can't get worse. If you don't, then who's going to get blamed? Sad. Duh. You have to change one of the two if you're Beamer, and now it's on you as the head coach. Well, I mean, if that's going to happen, and that makes him better, I love Luke Doty. I thought he got a bad rep last year. More power to him, if that's what happened.
Here's the thing. If you put him in and it doesn't work, you have an example of how Spencer's going to handle that already in front of you. Yeah. So that's a big gamble. That's why I was like, why don't you put DeCarrion in there just for a few plays, switch it up a little bit, have to account for two, backs in the backfield, one of them being the quarterback. And, because I don't think that's going to piss off your starter, right? I mean, you're just putting in a differerent package.
And Missouri
Doty in sends a big time message.
And Missouri, yeah, I'm sorry. No, you're right.
No,
I didn't mean to step on you there. Missouri has had trouble this year against dual threat quarterbacks. Florida was able to run it pretty well with its backs, but I think the threat of Richardson kind of had them off balance. Kansas State was able to run the ball against them. Stetson Bennett was able to run the ball against them. So Cartwright says, I wouldn't want Freddie still pro style. I'm not talking about long term. I'm talking about now. I don't know that Freddie Kitchens is going, if they make a change at OC in the offseason, I don't think Freddie's going to get it. That's it, blah, blah, blah. Tristan says, would y'all agree that it's a skill to be able to feel something is about to go bad and cut it off before it gets bad? Tristan, I get the feeling a lot of you just want him to make, to punt Sat. Let me just tell you this. Once they decided he was coming back this year, you're stuck with him just about the whole year. And that's the case with any coach. Steve Spurrier had the ability once to change defensive coordinators midstream because he had two coordinators. He had Thompson and Tyrone Nix that they kind of had the same defense. He just had somebody step. But I mean, I don't know outside of Kitchens, and you'd have to promote him and demote Sapp because one's an analyst and one's a full-time coach. I don't know how you hand this cattywampus thing off to someone else when you really don't have. I mean, Limbo called plays a while back. Steps never called plays. I'm sure he's capable, but I mean, you can't just switch it out.
Kentucky was your opportunity because you're heading into the bye week, but you won that game. So once he makes it through the bye week, because it was perfect. It was in the middle of the season. You'd had 6 games after that to make a difference, but I think it's unreasonable at this point to think.
8GM2 says, how do I vote on the poll question? I think the answer is yes. Let's ban him. Because at this point, he's just trolling. Just ban HJM2. I'm sick of hearing it. You're wrong. You're wrong. You've been wrong. You continue to stir the pot and troll. Get out of the chat box, at least for 30 days.
I'm going to put him in timeout.
Put him in timeout. Yeah, he needs to be in timeout. I'm sick of that. Twisted Fire Sat Chicken, your first poll was wrong. Satterfield now has the most punchable face in the SEC. Heath says, not going to talk about Sat. That's a dead dog. Couple of questions, though. Any news on Lavassier Carroll? If Marshawn can't go, I'd love to see what he can do. Somebody needed to be given a chance. Amos, maybe. I don't know why Christian Bill Smith has not been effective this year. It's probably health related. Honest to God, would have probably, if he's not 100% healthy, redshirted.
Yeah.
Or keep him another year, but. I don't think any of that's a bad idea. If it's so easy, quote unquote, just to pitch the ball to Bell, why not do it? I would have tried something because the backup running backs, unfortunately, on Saturday weren't getting anything.
No.
Anything. Tiffany makes a point. Missouri attacked our least talented areas on D. Yeah, well, they go after weaknesses. I don't ever see Carolina do that.
No.
Dre says, I bought a ticket to the Tennessee game. Last time I went to a game was 19 in Georgia. We're going to shock the world, folks. Don't worry. Glad to do that.
Bring it. Bring it. Let's hope.
Lady makes a good point. Take the RPO out of his hands. Spencer can't make one read, much less 3. RPO has done well with that. Get him blah, blah, blah. I think if you're going to do RPOs, go downfield. I mean, some of the most effective RPOs are like slants. And against a team like Missouri where they're crashing in there like that, I'd try to get somebody matched up with a linebacker across the middle, something like that. I don't know.
And I would have much rather seen the read option when you've got, when Lloyd's out, because, you got Juju, who we know is good on the perimeter, but his game isn't up the middle. I mean, even we know that.
Yeah. I just, Dan says, hell, I'd let Limbo dial it up. Can't be any worse. Josh says Marcus Satterfield's for the Matt Rule tree. Let's do Rule a favor and free up Sat. Be interesting. I don't know. Blah, blah, same old stuff. Our formula for success this year is running the ball. The first half, how many times do we run the ball? Well, they had 7 for Lloyd. I don't think he got a carry the second half. So
let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we didn't have the ball for 9 minutes. I mean, it's
Kreger says, and this is damning, having to call timeout coming out of a TV timeout shows you how complicated and long it takes. I wanted to jump out of the stadium. Yeah, hey, look, I have no problem calling a timeout out of a TV timeout if you're dialing something awesome up. Yeah,
because it looks a lot better when you get the ball back and you should have your play already in there, and then you have a false start, because that happened on Saturday too.
Zach mentions the offensive line's tuck. Dylan Wanham got beat all game. Should have pulled him or put an extra blocker on that side. Yeah, I mean, where was Tyshawn Wanamaker? If Dylan's not good, if any of you have 4 offensive tackles that have been playing pretty consistently, if one's not doing the job, reverse it. And I don't know if Greg Atkins was coaching Saturday or not. I know he's on the sidelines. I don't want to sit here and say the line didn't play well because Coach Atkins came back, but that's just one of those things. Hood 89 says, how much did the offense or lack thereof play into the decision of Mazio Bennett? I'm told it was everything. And it's not just Carolina's offense, it's compared to Tennessee's. So there we go. On and on and on and on and on, blah, blah, blah. All right. Lady Bree says, our weakness on D was with White. It's not the players. A little bit sure, but they attacked the same weaknesses in our scheme the whole game, just like they did to our O. The coaches were outcoached. I'm not disagreeing Clayton White got outcoached by Drinkwitz. I think Drinkwitz put on a clinic with play calling. But I also think the defense played well enough adjusting to hold them to 2 field goals after the start. And like I said, you're going to get into games like this. Anybody remember the 0-1 Alabama game? Bama probably did not have what you call an explosive offense that year. South Carolina did have a good defense. Charlie Strong and Carolina played really good defense that year most of the year. Well, they came in and attacked the Gamecocks, running the option with Tyler Watts, and went up and down the field. They're 36-24. And guess what? Lou was like, Skip, you need to probably just go 5 wide and run it, because we can't stop them. And they came back and won the game. You know why? Because you play complementary football on offense. You have to have the offense to go get things done when your defense isn't doing well. Just like you need the defense to tighten up and, keep them from scoring. When you get behind like that, I thought they did their job. But Lady Bree, you're absolutely right. I mean, they attacked the defense. That was the thing there. All right, we're going to take a break, top of the hour. Keith coming up here after a little bit, right here on Inside the Game.
He just said about 12:30, so we're about
12:30. All right, so we'll see him about 28 minutes. Going to get to the some iHelp Consulting mailbag stuff and all that good stuff. So that's the deal there. We'll be back after these messages inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. nanasporch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. The second hour of the show is brought to you by the Burgesson team at Remax at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot them an email at aburgesson, that's BERGESON, at remax.net for all of your commercial or commercial or investment real estate needs. Oh, we hopping on the chat box today. Everybody's got something to say, and I feel you. I mean, you know.
How about High Speed Nerf here? He's a Missouri fan.
Oh.
He or she. I'm a Tigers fan. Just want to say good game to the South Carolina fans. A good luck on the rest of your season. Yeah, your team completely outcoached the Gamecocks and got the ball to their playmakers. And that's kind of a hell of a defense. I mean, you look at Missouri this year, with the exception of the Kansas State game where they turned it over 4 times. They've been pretty stingy on that side of the ball. Now, we'll see how they do against Tennessee. but they played well against Georgia, and you know I think they've got a chance to end up having a decent season. I think Carolina probably should have played a little better. Going on and on and on. Our line has ACC talent, not SEC talent.
Ooh, ouch.
Oh, offense or defense? You know, I don't know. I think D-line is SEC level. I think offensive line's SEC level too. It's just kind of funny. These guys will go out and play pretty well, then they won't have another good game. But you know, I think the class they have for this class, assuming they hold on to everybody coming in, is going to be good in time. But you're still not going to have a perfect day against the defensive lines you face in this league. It's just every team from Alabama on down struggles. At times up front, and it's just because they're so good. Nick, you can blame the offensive line all you want, but I think they're trying. Maybe says late to the show today. I noticed one play where the safety was obviously cheating on the line on a blitz. The corner was impressed man, and we proceeded to run the ball anyway. Yeah, there's no adjustment. So that's the deal there with that. So I just I
don't feel like we saw very much shaking things up on the line. Like, looking at 2 weeks ago, you're rotating guys in and out on the O line. You're running that Campbell and Atkins in there. I think we only saw that for 1 or 2 plays this past week, even though it was really effective the week before. I wouldn't put it all on the O line, because if you're struggling, you need to put in different guys. You got other playmakers back there that have done well. Wanamaker, it just, I don't know, it didn't make any sense, top to bottom. It really it just didn't.
That's the maddening part about this. And look, let's be honest. Not every play. There's some plays that work against some defenses, and some plays that work against others. That's called coaching, right?
Right. Right.
You look at any playbook, they're like, okay, when they do this, we're going to do this. And when they do this, we're going to do this. That's coaching. But the maddening part of it is these formations and packages and concepts, you should still be able to use those if they're effective. You just run a different play.
Right.
It's like, okay, this team's susceptible to inside runs. Well, we're going to get the Atkins Campbell package out here and we're going to run it inside. Well, if they're susceptible on the outside, you go to the outside. Mm-hmm. Or if they're susceptible to the counter, you go to the counter. I mean,
the problem with us there is that it takes, you're going to have to run 3 or 4 guys off and 3 or 4 guys in to make that adjustment. And you
can't. I mean, Jeff says, I work with a former tight end, and he suggests, and I tend to agree, our offense may be too complicated. We don't seem to have a stable of go-to plays that we can modify. And the preacher said to the congregation, say amen, amen, hallelujah. Amen. Jeff, that's whoever that is, knows football and is spot on in my opinion. Maybe says it was in the second half. The first half, we had all those good 50-50 balls. I didn't see a single one in the second half. Our entire offense, that first half, was those 50-50 balls. I agree. Lance says,
the thing that irritated the hell out of me about the damn interception that was thrown. It was like he was throwing. Do you know who he was throwing it to? Joyner. Why? Why?
Oh no. 76 says, I'm a happy guy generally, but Mondays truly do suck after shatting all over the field. Losing in such a fashion as we find ways to do. Maybe says, well, Stoddard, Brooks, and Bell can all moss dudes, and that's what they gave us, and we refused to take it. Agreed. You can do it in different ways. You don't have to sit Spencer in the pocket the whole day and do it.
No.
I mean, they did the little rollout tight end pass, and I was like, the first drive, right? The little rollout kind of tight end pass to Stoddard. I was like, that's exactly what you need to do. Now, it was all kind of bunched up, but he popped out of there and got a nice game.
Mm-hmm.
Quantrell says, I think it's pride and ego with the play calling. The great ones adjust to personnel. The NFL does it. Look at the quarterback position. Looks a whole lot different than it did 10 years ago. Amen, Quantrell. Yes. I mean, the great ones do adjust. I mean, South Carolina had a head coach that was probably one of the best play callers in the history of the sport, right? College football, one of the best. Even his the 2014 season, when the last game he really chose to dial them up himself, he lit Auburn up like a Christmas tree. So the guy didn't lose it. He lit it up with the Orlando Apollos. So he knows what he's doing. Even he adjusted his run game, because they got Lattimore in. They had Garcia that was kind of a dual threat guy. So they went Sean Elliott. And it was Eric Wolford first that brought in the zone read. And then Elliott came in and put on top of that the App State run game. And that was the secret to the success. I mean, they worked around. It drove Spurrier crazy sometimes, but they played it up to Connor Shaw's strengths. And Steve Spurrier played it up to the strengths of his team. Okay, think about that Georgia game. They gave it to Marcus Lattimore 37 times because that's what was working. Okay, and Georgia couldn't stop him. Okay, he says, "Well, shoot, I'm not going to throw the ball at all."
And it's not just a college concept. Look at what the Titans did yesterday. 32 carries for Derrick Henry, 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's like, here, just stop it. If you can't stop it, I'm going to keep running it.
Yeah. Lance says, do you feel something will change this weekend? Maybe some kinks that could help us rust the way, or is this just is what it is? I think it just is what it is, what you got to hope for. Lloyd's injury is not that serious. He comes back. You get him going, and then, hopefully you can selectively hit pass plays and the defense and special teams plays well. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. I would like to sit here and say, oh, no, they're going to make all these adjustments, but it's been 21 games. Just hadn't done it. Maybe says if we have to run the NFL stuff, can we just run the Bengals offense? Or they throw it up to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins one-on-one, and is that available? That's the kind of pro style. I don't even think it's like necessarily pro style. I think when you talk about pro style, you could do all kinds of different things. Because the pros borrow a lot from college. The difference is how you teach it, how you call it, and how you implement it. Okay. That's where the disconnect is, all those 3 areas. When you have these, you don't have time to work on a new set of plays every single week. You don't have time in college when you're limited to perfect a system like this. and you certainly don't have many games. In game 8, you just, in the NFL, you can lose 3 games and still go to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
If you take a little time to get your players right and get accustomed to the system, you're 3-3 after the first 6, and then you win 8 out of the last 10 because it starts clicking. Great, you're still going to the playoffs. Sometimes those teams go to the Super Bowl. In college, you can't take 3 L's and say, "Oh well, we fixed it." You're okay. So that's the difference. You spend all this time, you fix it in the off season, right?
Right.
And so that's the thing there. Clint says, have we run any fade routes to our big receivers or Stogner at all this year? I don't know that Stogner's running fades. I don't see a lot of fade routes, man, to be honest.
Targeted in the back of the end zone, but it's not your typical fade, and he has yet to catch that. So why do we keep throwing?
you guys remember the Outback Bowl where Bentley hit Shi Smith on that slot fade play out of the spread?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you got so many players that can run that. Like Juice Wells and Amari Brown will be lethal on that type of play. I don't ever see anything like that.
Nope.
Jake didn't need all day to throw that down the field, and Spencer's got to go to arm just like Bentley did. I mean, I'm sure he can throw that.
Oh, especially, that was one thing that was aggravating too, because we had a 3rd down and like 4, I think. I want to say this was in the second quarter. We put a play together that, was going to take 5 seconds to develop, and Spencer gets sacked. Drinkwitz has the same opportunity on a 3rd and reasonable, and it's just a clinic. Guy cuts across the middle, plays balls in and out of Cook's hands within 2.5 seconds, and first down. Boom.
Clemson does that. Clemson will go third and 4, and they throw a 5-yard out at the sticks, and first down. I've seen them do that over and over and over this year. You know what? Because their kids know how to run their offense.
Mm-hmm.
And they know, and their offense makes sense. I mean, it's nothing special. And I would take nothing special at this point. Joseph from Spartanburg in the I Help Consulting mailbag. I left the game early for the first time in 25 years. That was pathetic. Team didn't seem like they were interested. I agree they came out flat. Yeah. Didn't play with the passion. The offensive coordinator's a dead horse. If he's retained, I'll write off my fandom and get into basket weaving. The defense is consistently consistent in my golf game, which is not fun. Yeah, look, the defense did not play well, especially at the start.
No. But that's going to happen. You're going to have a bad game on one side of the ball.
So many coaches are good in this league, man. And so everybody's got players, especially on offense these days. Lastly, why do the officials hate Carolina and love Clemson? I hate this toxic relationship I have with this football program. How about overreacting, Joseph from Spartanburg? Nah, I get it.
Yeah.
Baron, I answered your question on the website. Hudson says, oh boy, what's up, guys? Used to email a lot when it's just a podcast, but first time since the show went live. Beaver's sticking to his guns on Satterfield, and it's clear that Satterfield will at least be on staff till the end of the year. Yeah, I was told no change. But is there anyone on staff that Shane could have call plays the remainder of the season? Besides Freddie Kitchens, I don't think so. Or is Sat the only person able to call plays in his offense? Yeah. I get the optics not wanting to fire him, but at this point, based on comments from players like Rattler about a lack of plan on what to do against Missouri, I fear frustration with the offense has reached a boiling point. Just hoping there's something that can be done to spark something in the arm of the team and build back on the momentum we so easily gave away this weekend. I don't know. Just try to play. Try to play better, get Lloyd back, try to run the ball. Enough is enough. FireMarcusSatterfield.com. Leaving the stadium, fans were discussing chanting Fire Sat during the Tennessee game. Seemed to be picking up momentum. Just thought I shared it with you. Look, man, if things go bad in a game, I get it. But I wouldn't set out to do it. That's just this isn't the pros. You're dealing with college kids. You don't know, if fans get that overtly toxic, how it affects things like recruiting. We can talk about it here all you want. I don't think it matters. But
No.
You know,
And there were
that's the
some
thing.
recruits in that had some good experiences because I saw him tweet about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know.
And by the way, I think Carolina's going to get Elijah Davis, who visited this weekend. I'm actually pretty confident in that one, the JUCO defensive tackle. Who's a good one. Dustin mentions if he could clone 21 Emmett Juarez, would be in fantastic shape. That guy's playing his butt off, man. And if he makes a mistake, he comes right back and keeps battling.
Yep.
He's good. He's good.
The scariest thing that happened on Saturday was right at the beginning of the game when it looked like he was really hurt. And I'm like, oh God, that is not good. Please come back. Please come back.
All right. I got an email from 8JM2. Let's take her out of timeout.
No, it should be. It's
a her. It's a her. I didn't know
it should be.
Take her out of timeout. Sorry about that. I just it seemed like you were trolling. Sometimes we have to guard against trolls, but I get it. I'm not wanting to take opinions, no matter how off the mark they are, out of the chat box. I apologize. Right. Soda City's tough loss Saturday. The sad part is it wasn't surprising because the offense played the same way we do every week with Lloyd injured. We just didn't get our usual second touchdown. Tried to run Juju up the middle. Change is supposed to be made. Hopefully we can beat Vandy, and if we get a little lucky, sneak out of Gainesville with a 7th win. I don't know about that. I don't know. Florida probably, in my opinion, with the way they came back on Georgia, gained some momentum. I thought I was on the way to getting that right, that Georgia was going to hang half 100, but the Gators battled back. Brad says, get Sat out of here. I appreciate you covering Carolina's athletics without sugarcoating the sour issues. After briefly tuning into your competitors' post-game coverage of tonight's game and listening to their inability to address the obvious, I'm grateful to hear your no BS takes. In a world where everyone's afraid that someone's feelings may get hurt when the truth is delivered, it's remarkably refreshing. Brad from Belton. Go Cox beat Vandy forever to thee. And then he says a bunch of stuff I didn't read about Sat because of time, but it's basically the same thing you guys have said over and over. So that's good. But Brad from Belton, that's cool. I don't know which competitor you listen to. Let's just say this. There's a reason we don't do immediately after the game. And there's a reason I wait until Mondays because I need a day to process so I don't say something that I regret or that's wrong, all that good stuff with my game thoughts. A lot of people have taken some crap about it, Phil, from some section of thebigspur.com because they're like, well, he's just parroting what the coaching staff has to say. No, I'm not. I check with sources. I get other people's opinions to kind of help me formulate my own about the game, but I never – those aren't talking points I put up, right?
Yeah, I put up real general stuff on Twitter,
I saw
immediate reactions, but beyond that, I'll dig in on Sunday and then speak a bit more knowledgebly on Monday.
and I'm just to say, I tweeted a couple things generically out about changes. Changes need to happen, just generally. But I honestly, I hate tweeting these days. I mean, I'll retweet a bunch of stuff if you guys follow me. Sometimes I'll have a point, sometimes I won't, but I hate tweeting. I especially hate tweeting during games because 9 times out of 10, if you're in my position, you tweet something during the game, that game's going to turn, and it's going to turn out that you're going to look like a donkey, a jackass, at the end. So there we go with that. Brian says, I take back all the positivity talk because remember Brian last week was like, hey, it's too negative this week. Sad is not good and a change has to be made. Still a lot in front of us, but tonight was disappointing, and it was.
Yeah.
And okay, all right, so here's another thing. Pray for Gamecock Pastor. I was wondering, Phil, why we haven't haven't heard from him. And he goes Floyd, and then we got something on Floyd of
Did
Rose.
you see? Do you know why? I mean, I'm not going to put his. Okay, yeah, I'll let you know after the show. But
sure, because I'll pray for him.
Gamecock Pastor and his family, and your thoughts and prayers. He's going through a rough spot right now.
Yeah. So all right, back to the Nana Sports chat box. Yeah, definitely. Tell me because I know he had gone through a little bit, but All right, BCP says, let Beamer continue to develop the culture, hire a new OC, move on from Rattler ASAP. We do that, we have a shot at going places. I don't agree with Rattler. I think in the right system, he can be a very dangerous quarterback. But he's got, just like any quarterback is going to have to be comfortable. Raise your hand if the 5 quarterbacks, besides DeCarry Joyner, who was just out there running around and playing, right? So 4 of the 5 quarterbacks that have played in this system, who has looked comfortable the entire time or at all? Don't raise it. Nobody raised their hand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not everybody all at once, please.
Now, if Rattler, like I said, though, I'm not dismissing this and sitting here saying, I'm Team Spencer Rattler and going down with that ship if that's the cause. If that's the problem, put a new quarterback in. Hell, I mean, I'm not married to Spencer Rattler. I didn't think he was a 5-star guy coming out. I thought that he would be a massive upgrade at Carolina from what they had last year, and an experienced guy that had something to prove. And I think he's got a heck of an arm. But if there is somebody better, go do it. And I'll if it's Luke Doty that needs to come in there and play, and he comes in there and this offense looks completely different and changes course, I'll eat my words on SAP. I'll eat every daggone word I've said, because the bottom line is winning, folks. You gotta, it's about winning. And what frustrates me is when people talk about process and learning and getting used to the system and all these things you don't really hear, except for in year 1 of a new coach. When he takes over a place like at Mississippi State with Mike Leach in 2021, they had the big first game against LSU, but they had that guy from Stanford that's slower than Al Poop out there playing in that system, and he wasn't going to last. Next thing you know, 5 interceptions, he's gone. That school, Mississippi State, even though Moorhead's offense wasn't terribly far off, they had to adjust. They had to adjust to get used to it. Same thing with Steve Spurrier his first year here. I mean, he took over a team that Lou Holtz wanted to, at the end, was trying to run the option, I mean, he kind of made it work. But, you don't, with the exception of 1 year, your first year, you can't be sitting there in game 8 talking about how he needs to adjust to the system.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there it's like, okay, even if you do have a good offensive performance here on out, the worrisome thing is like, okay, is it every year it's going to take us 8 games to figure it out? And that's unacceptable, because you can't do that, period. You cannot do that. You don't have enough games to lose in college. It's just the season's not long enough.
Exactly. And that's very true, Phil. I mean, you can't sit there and wait, and all that. Plus, you have to think, too, these days in college football, there's so much transition with the portal and things like that. A lot of schools are recruiting quarterbacks out of the portal and bringing them in. They're starting and thriving. Obviously, at South Carolina, it's too difficult to do that. So that's the thing there. Tim says, do we make a change at OC after Clemson or signing day? Man, I don't know. That's a good question and kind of another judgment call, so I don't know. Craig says, why hasn't Amos left if he never gets a carry? Seems we could use a 6'1", 230-pound back when Lloyd goes out. I don't get it, but I'm not at practice. I don't either. It seems like maybe they try something. I mean, or, hey, Bell's 6'3", 230. Why not give him the ball? I mean, again, since you stated that it's that easy. So it's just easier to do that. All right, we got through the mailbag today and catched up on the chat box, Phil. Got to take our final break of the day. By the way, I found out why Mayor McCheese was expelled from McDonald's.
That's right. I was going to bring that up.
Seriously, it's because of the people that created HR Puffin stuff sued McDonald's, and they came to an agreement that they get rid of Mayor McCheese. That pisses me off, and so now I'll never be an HR Puffin stuff fan. Back after these messages.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, hour on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox!
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. The second hour is brought to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX by the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call or shoot them an email at aburgesson, BERGESON, at remax.net. And we are now joined by Keith Allsep, who I'm sure has absolutely nothing to say about the performance that we saw on Saturday. Keith, how are you doing?
Five lost Timbo this week.
5 lost this week.
This keeps getting better and better in college
Yeah, it
station,
does.
right?
Well, guys, great to be with you. Sorry for the lateness. I had a doctor's appointment and had a whole bunch of fluid drained off my knee. So at least I can bend it now. So that's a good thing. Look, JC and I talked about it. He was on my show on Friday. We talked off the air. I was very, very tempted to pick Missouri all week because I just didn't know if South Carolina could handle success. We've seen them handle adversity under Shane Beamer, but how do you handle success when you just won 4 games in a row? You are ranked for the first time. Everybody's telling you how good you are and you ought to win the next 2 games and go to the Swamp 7-2. And look, it's not just Marcus Satterfield that didn't do his job on Saturday in the first half. I think I read South Carolina had 10 possessions, 5 3-and-outs, and 8 possessions of 5 or fewer plays. And they barely scratch 100 yards again in the first half, less than that in the second half. I think they had like 82 or 83 yards until that last meaningless screen pass, which that's all we saw. JC, if I'd have told you after we got Spencer Rattler, Juice Wells, Austin Stogner, you return Van Bell, who is on a milk carton, and Amarian Brown, and 8 games in with Spencer Rattler as a starting quarterback, you would have no downfield passing game. What would you say? Satterfield was like a one-pitch pitcher. For the second year in a row, Missouri said, you're not running it inside. They pressured inside when it was running or passing downs and distance. And not once did he move Rattler outside the pocket. Not once was there a rollout, a bootleg, a waggle, nothing to give him a clean pocket. And Jaheim Bell, again, 0 touches, and I'm sick of the excuses. You listen to my show on Spotify, shameless plug on Wednesday, or Apple Podcasts. There's a long rant about Marcus Satterfield at the end of my coordinator Q&A. I call it the quick hits, because you have to start with the most interesting and go to the least interesting. And clearly Pete Limbo is the most interesting man in the world. He could be the next Dos Equis guy. Then Clayton White, then Satterfield, who talks about how great Jaheim Bell is and how great he plays without the ball and how he wishes he could get it to him 20 times. Well, it's pretty hard to do that when the guy plays 13 plays. And then you go into this game and you make no adjustments. Look, the defense was not perfect. It really was awful in the first half. 264 yards, 17 points. But you know what Clayton White did? They made adjustments at halftime. That's coaching. That's motivation. That's commanding your group that respects you. And they laid it on the line. Missouri barely had 100 yards total offense the second half. They had 6 points. And quite frankly, you only give up 23 points at home to Missouri, you should win the game. But when your offensive coordinator blows chunks, and this has been outside of the anomaly of the Florida quitters and North Carolina, who, let's face it, defense is optional there. App State got 61. Okay. So outside of that, he's the same guy he's always been. That's why I thought it was a huge gamble. JC thought it was a huge gamble to bring this guy back, particularly when you add Stogner, Wells, Rattler. You turn the college football world upside down with those announcements of Rattler and Stogner. You win the bowl game. Shane Beamer could have hired anybody in the country at that point. He doubled down on his friend, who quite frankly sucked last year. And based on conversations I've had, there are multiple players right now, I mean, on offense that are not happy. And the transfer portal's been really good to South Carolina, but if Shane Beamer does not cut out this cancer in his program, the transfer portal is not going to be kind to South Carolina in December.
Talking with Keith Allsep, Locked on the Gamecocks podcast. We got a couple of news notes here. Florida has dismissed Brenton Cox from the team. He's throwing punches late in that Georgia game, and he didn't have such a good go of it at Georgia either, but he's one of their best defensive players. Mississippi State Athletic Director John Cohen is going to be the next AD at Auburn.
Yep, saw that.
Fascinating.
Yep.
He's their former baseball coach, by the way, former baseball coach at Kentucky. And then the Gamecocks and Gators in the Swamp will kick off at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So those are some notes from around college football, SEC, and, of course, the kickoff time for the Gators, 4 p.m. At the Swamp coming up here in a couple of weeks. Well, Keith, obviously, based on what I've been told and, all that, there's not a change coming. So what do you do? I mean, I don't know that with Satterfield still calling it that you're going to reinvent the wheel. My guess is you just got to – because I do think Marshawn Lloyd's injury prevented this offense from succeeding in spite of the play calling, I think in the first half, he did not have room to run, but he was finding a way to get upfield. He's that talented. So it was tough to – by the way, happy birthday to Tonka Hemingway. It was tough, to lose him, I thought. But you have to be able to adjust, and you have to be able to say, oh shoot, we're not going to have our guy. So we got to make some things happen down the field. And the personnel usage is atrocious. The tempo, the operational tempo, and I'm not talking about these guys need to go Tennessee fast. You're just sitting there letting the other defensive coordinator adjust to everything you do, running these personnel packages in and out. I gave you credit earlier and pointed out that you had pointed this out, and I pointed it out before. South Carolina has the luxury of versatile players like Stogner and Bell and Juju McDowell. You could run a whole lot of different formations and plays without having a substitute with this personnel, yet we never see it. So what do you do? I mean, I think they've got enough to go beat Vandy, but if things don't get better, Vandy's going to be a dogfight. South Carolina is going to go to the Swamp and get beat. Tennessee will be one of the most embarrassing losses in the history of the program at home, and they're not going to cross the 50 against Clemson. I mean, that's the reality they're faced with unless something changes. Now, how do you change it right now? I don't know. Do you have any answers?
JC, after 21 games, you can't expect a Leopard to change their spots. I think this guy is baked in. It's not that he can't fly the plane. He couldn't build the plane. He could build the plane, but he can't fly the plane. He can't land the plane. And on Saturday, he crashed the damn plane into the side of the only mountain in the flight plan. I mean, that's all you had to do was get over one mountain and it's smooth sailing, and he crashed it right in the side of the mountain. Now, look, we know South Carolina was winning in spite of the offense, right? Like Kentucky, first half, you barely have 100 yards. Texas A&M, the defense and special teams get you going, and you had a 50-yard drive, and after the head coach basically bullied you into running the ball, you had that late drive, that sealed the game. But you went like 30 minutes without scoring. And you really, without a heave to Brooks, you didn't even threaten to score, right? And against Kentucky, well, I mean, we've seen what Kentucky's like even with Will Levis, who, like I said, Levis, Anthony Richardson, those dudes are way overhyped. And so I don't know that you can expect anything. I think what you have to hope is Clayton White's unit doesn't come out flat because, you know, Missouri in the first half, you turn Brady Cook into Chase Daniel. I mean, that dude was 7 of 8 in the first quarter. I think he was 12 of 16 in the first half. They had 264 yards. And then they had 103 in the second half. And the defense gave you a chance to win, but you kept going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 5 and out, 3 and out. And you couldn't do anything because they said, hey, we're pressuring you right up the middle, just like we did last year, and we know you're not going to adjust. And it's not just Jaheim Bell's parents that are upset. It's other key players on that offense that are upset too. And Spencer Rattler, you saw his frustration come out on Saturday. I mean, does anybody think Spencer Rattler signed up to basically look like a rookie quarterback in the NFL? Hats off to you, JC, for that analogy. No, he came here because he was told we're going to be in this great offense and we got all these weapons and we're going to be throwing it and running it, and you're not. And look, there are nice plays in the offense, but this guy doesn't know when to call them, how to call them, when to adjust. It's the same crap we saw last year, except this year you can't blame it on players. You can't blame it on Rattler, Stogner, Wells, Marshawn Lloyd, Jaheim Bell. You certainly can't blame it on him. Hell, you don't even play him. And every pass is vertical. I mean, horizontal to the line of scrimmage. The only deep throws have been on scramble plays by Spencer Rattler. You know he throws the ball best on the run, yet you run no design boots and waggles that allow him to do what he does best, JC, which that's what coaching is supposed to do, is put your best players and give them the best chance to be successful by allowing them to do what they do best. And it is square peg, round hole once again for Marcus Satterfield.
Honestly, look, some guys in college football, the call plays are a little bit of, they're savants, right? They have a great system. It's proven. And, you're in your second year of a system. Maybe you don't have inherit an ideal situation at quarterback. Maybe you don't have the players exactly to fit that. And you adjust and you go through growing pains. Marcus Satterfield did not have a good offense at Temple. Statistically, they were never above 70th in the country. Last time he had a good offense was 2010 at Chattanooga. Now, if I were him, I'd have dusted that playbook off and ran that this year. And I don't understand for the life of me why, you spend 1 year as an assistant to an assistant in the NFL, and all of a sudden you come back and your idea is to run all this crazy stuff. I would understand it if there was light at the end of the tunnel where you could say, okay, well, it's just a matter of the players getting the system down and then it's going to be unstoppable. There's no proof. There's no track record that says that. So you're not only forcing guys you're forcing them to adjust to a bad scheme. And I'll tell you this right now, best play callers in college football, that they wouldn't be sitting there doing this. I mean, what did Leach do his first year when we had that guy from Stanford that all of a sudden became a interception machine? He just went with the freshman because he's a better fit. What Spurrier do? He just was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna do what I can with Blake Mitchell and this run game and dial them up. What do good play callers do? They don't try to, they adapt to what they have. What's disappointing about it, Keith, is that Shane Beamer stated that when he was hired, when they asked him what he was going to do on offense? Well, you need to be able to adjust to fit your players. You need something that if you're good at running, you run the ball, but if you need to be good at passing the ball too. And he said that over and over again. And this through 21 games, you just don't see it. South Carolina has a strategic disadvantage with the OC they have. And I think at this program, because it's hard enough for the Blue Bloods when they have a situation like this, kind of like Georgia in 2019 with James Coley. They have a hard enough time. I mean, you want to know why Carolina got that game? Well, and Georgia's offensive play calling sucked. Okay. Their offensive plan was not cohesive, right? Even schools like Georgia have problems when they have issues like this. What makes you think you can do it at South Carolina? You have to, preferably you have a guy calling plays that's going to give you a strategic advantage.
Well, JC, my reaction 21 games into the Marcus Satterfield era is the same reaction it was when I heard he was the guy getting the job. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And what has he ever done to warrant being a coordinator in the best conference in America? I mean, the only league that's tougher than the SEC is the NFL. Okay. And it was a huge gamble. And South Carolina, I said it last week, was on the precipice of a special kind of season if they could improve offensively, win these next two games, go to the Swamp, 7-2. I mean, let's face it, Florida has their share of warts too, right? I mean, AR-15, he don't have a scope on that thing, and there ain't many bullets in that gun, and most of them misfire. I mean, they have issues. Brenton Cox, big shock. He got kicked off at Georgia. Now he got kicked off at Florida. I mean, South Carolina had opportunities for an excellent season, but you see a guy in Eli Drinkwitz, JC, I've been a big fan of his. With the motions, with the stuff that they do on offense, they would motion the guy across the formation, take that defender across, and then come right back where he was with a run play. And South Carolina's eye discipline was very bad the first half on defense. Brady Cook would keep. They have great play designs. They attack the weaknesses of your defense. They use motions. They just don't bunch everybody up in the box and say, we're going to run it up the damn middle.
I mean, you got to defend. Good offenses in college, I think, make you defend the entire field. Alabama does that too. And that's Nick Saban, doing that. Georgia has a lot of these same types of formations, Keith, but they make you defend the entire field. South Carolina does not do that. And, you want to talk about Jaheim Bell and his usage. Look no further than Eli Drinkwitz at North Carolina State when they had Jalen Samuels. Same type of guy. It's baffling to me. And look, and I know the defense, little debate here about the defense in the chat box. I know they didn't play all that well, but man, you know what? They did their job enough in the second half to where at home you should be able to come back and get out of that hole.
They gave you a chance to win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They gave you a chance to come back and win.
Yeah. And there was no plan as to how to effectively do that. I don't, I understand with coaches, getting rid of somebody in the middle of the season sometimes can make things worse. So I'm not being critical of not making a change now, but I mean, I don't know what they need to do. I don't know what kind of ideas they need to come up with. But I think it's clear that Rattler's lost and confused half the time, and when they don't have Lloyd going, they don't have an offense at all. So what are the keys for the Vandy game, Keith? I shudder to think what would happen if South Carolina goes up there and loses to the Commodores for the first time in a decade and a half.
look, you can't just say, well, I love Juju McDowell, so he's the back after Marshawn, and I'm just going to run him right up the middle.
Mm-mm.
I mean, that doesn't work. You have – look, if you don't want to – if you can't play Lloyd, put Jaheim Bell at running back. He's a big, physical, powerful dude. Put Rashad Amos in at running back. Why haven't you played him? I mean, Bill Smith, he's just not right. He's not 100%. I think he's going to be a guy that's just not going to be 100%, maybe until you get to a bowl game, because they're going to keep playing him. And when you got that kind of lower leg injury, it doesn't get better if you keep playing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Vanderbilt is so bad they'll be able to get a downfield passing game going. Maybe they'll be able to run the ball. I mean, we saw how bad Clark Lee was last year at the end of that game by going to 3-man front and dropping 8 and allowing a guy that couldn't outrun me right now, bless his heart, Colonel Zebuliah, and you gave him all day to throw it, and he went right down the field on you. And so maybe they'll just say, well, we're not going to pressure South Carolina up the middle. We're going to let them run up the middle. We're not going to pressure Spencer Rattler up the middle. I mean, look, it is what it is. And outside of Marcus Satterfield's immediate family, I don't think that there'd be anybody upset if he was dismissed, quite frankly. I mean, I didn't see Marshawn Lloyd tweeting about Coach Sat after Saturday's game. And I can guarantee you Spencer Rattler probably wouldn't be upset about it. I mean, to me, here's the thing, JC. I said this on Twitter. I'm saying it again. You can't blame Justin Stepp for not being able to get Mazeo Bennett, Antonio Williams, Dane Key. You can't blame him for not getting the guys this year that picked Georgia and Miami and other top programs with this offense. No, nobody wants to play in that. Look, you can't say, well, he's my friend. His contract runs out. I'm just going to wait until after signing day. No, dude, you wait until after signing day. Guys are bugging out, and you're not getting skill players with other great options. You might get a guy you find under the radar, like this guy from Pennsylvania. You know, C.J. Adams really didn't have a whole lot of big offers, even though I love him. You know, if Caden Lee can go anywhere other than Vanderbilt, you're not getting him with Marcus Satterfield. I mean, I guess you better be glad you got all them quarterbacks last year. Because you go try, I mean, the next Spencer Rattler's not picking South Carolina in December with that guy around. His last day on the job, if you're not going to make a move now, better be the morning after the Clemson game. That sends a message to recruits. That sends a message to your current players that you are not maintaining the status quo. You're bringing somebody in. If you have to let Pete Limbo do it, or if you have to let Justin Stepp do it for the bowl game, let him do it. That don't mean you have to promote him if he, like Will Muschamp did with Brian McClendon. That means you just go get a guy. Hell, I made a list yesterday of like 20 guys you could go get.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's true. All right. Brian Harsin, by the way, more news, has been fired at Auburn.
Shocking.
So
wow. Never
there's a
see
shocker.
That coming.
Yeah. And I made the point, you know, Harsin kind of runs this style of offense too. I mean, I think we all see that, you know, Stoops made a mistake going NFL. Their offense really stinks. I mean, you know, Harsin at Auburn, Jimbo. I mean, this style of offense just doesn't get it done. But Keith, we really appreciate you joining us, man, and giving your take. Everybody always looks forward to it. I hope you have a happy and safe Halloween, and we'll talk to you again soon, man.
Yeah, JC, thanks. I wish it was more positive. But it's clear at this point, there is no way out with Marcus Satterfield. There's just none. So go Cox. Hopefully you get win number 6. I mean, maybe the offense will look like, Andy Reid or Buffalo, But all you have right now until women's basketball starts is hope. There's no proof or evidence of success with the Shat system.
That's right. All right, Keith, take care, man.
Peace out.
Gonna wrap things up here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show on Monday. That was a tough one. It was a tough one I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking football and getting through it with all of you.
Oh, yeah.
But, that was kind of brutal, and Keith's got a lot of good points there, as normal. Tomorrow, the Mental Edge with Sawyer Nix. It'll be right here in a little bit. And by the way, too, as Rakeem points out here in the Nano Sports chat box, Auburn fired Brian Harsin today. And so that's that. Does that impact South Carolina? Auburn's not on the schedule for a while. But look, I mean, they've been sort of dormant in recruiting and everything else because they're so turned off by Brian Harsin, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on who they get in there, that's significant because they're not going to sit there and run this type of offense and things like that. So,
how plausible is Kiffin to Auburn?
I think that's who they should hire.
I do too. I think it'd be you want to compete?
Yeah. I mean, Daddy-O says sat to Auburn. Well, hey, if Matt Rule ends up getting the coaching job there, why not? Why not? All right. For Phil Mullinax, JC Sherbert, thank you so much for joining us. We'll get to Vandy tomorrow-ish. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about. Shane Beamer meets with the media tomorrow and all that good stuff, so we'll see what he has to say. But, with Auburn firing their head coach today because something's not working, and then everybody's standing pat in Columbia, well, there you go. Like I said, it's not abnormal to stick with the guy, but the decisions you make, sometimes, that's what you're judged on as a head coach. Now, Shane Beamer's got a lot of time. He's not going to be the first coach that's come in here and had, bad coordinator hires, or the first coach that's come anywhere and done that, But that Harsin situation should tell you just how competitive this league is and what the standard is. Is Auburn a little nuts for firing coaches over and over again? Yes, but so is Tennessee, and look at them now.
Yeah,
it's plug and play till you get it right, and that's offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach. Those very critical positions when it comes to college football. All right, Phil and I are out. Have a happy Halloween, everyone. Talk to you tomorrow.